Does your dog cry often, and you don't know why you're not the only one? Many pet owners feel confused when their dogs whimper or cry for no clear reason. But the truth is, dogs never cry without a reason. Crying is their way of telling us something. They might be sick, afraid, or simply in need of our attention. In a 2024 study published on Science Direct, 17% of dogs vocalized when they heard a person crying, suggesting there may be a connection between canine empathy and emotional distress. In this video, we'll help you understand what your dog is truly trying to tell you when they cry. Don't miss this, because understanding your dog's cry may change how you care for them. So what exactly are they trying to say with those cries? Let's begin with the most common reason: they simply need something, and you are their only voice. Sometimes it's that simple. Your dog might be crying because they're hungry, thirsty, or just need to go outside. But here's the tricky part: they can't say it in words. So they whine, they pace, they cry. And here's where many people, especially longtime dog owners, get caught off guard. Because you think, "He just ate," or "I already walked her." But routines can shift. Their needs can change day to day. Maybe dinner was earlier than usual. Maybe the water bowl looked full, but it wasn't clean. Maybe your dog just needed 5 extra minutes outside today, not 3. There was a case we saw recently, an older Labrador named Sophie. Every night around 8:30, she would start crying softly, staring at the front door. Her owner was puzzled. Food, water, toys. Everything seemed fine. But then they realized 8:30 was the usual walk time before their schedule shifted. Sophie wasn't being stubborn. She was trying to bring her routine back. That cry, it was her way of saying, "Don't forget me tonight." Science backs this up. Dogs are creatures of habit. In studies on canine communication, vocalizations like whining and barking often increase when routines are broken or basic needs go unmet even slightly. To them, it's not nagging, it's urgent. So the next time your dog cries, pause and ask, "Is this a need I might have missed?" But here's the real twist. What if their basic needs are met, and they still cry? That's when we have to ask a harder question. Could it be pain? Let's go deeper. Reason 2. Physical pain. The cry you should never ignore. What if everything seems fine, but the crying doesn't stop? You've checked the food, the water, the door. You've given affection, even a treat or two. But your dog is still whimpering, still restless. That's when a quiet worry creeps in. Could something be wrong inside? Pain is one of the most misunderstood reasons behind a dog's cry. It's not always loud or dramatic. In fact, it's often subtle. A soft whimper when getting up, a short cry when jumping off the couch, or sometimes they just sit in a corner and let out low, quiet sounds, almost like they're hoping you'll notice before it gets worse. Take Milo, for example, a 12-year-old mixed breed with no known health issues. One day, his owner noticed Milo cried every time he tried to climb the stairs. Walking seemed fine. Eating was normal. But the stairs, that's where it showed. A vet visit, and a few X-rays later, early-stage hip dysplasia. The pain wasn't constant, but it was enough. Studies on canine pain response show that most dogs don't yelp unless the pain is sharp or sudden. Chronic pain like arthritis or internal discomfort often leads to softer, repetitive vocalizations that are easy to miss, until they're not. And that's what makes this so important. If your dog is crying and you can't find the obvious cause, your next step shouldn't be guessing, it should be checking. Gently press around the joint's belly spine. Watch their face. Their body language will tell you what their voice cannot. Now here's what gets even more complicated. What if there's no pain? And no physical problem at all? and yet they cry the moment you leave the room. Let's talk about that. Reason 3. Separation. Anxiety when silence feels like abandonment. You step out for groceries, 10 minutes tops, but while you're gone, your dog paces, scratches at the door, and cries like their world just collapsed. This isn't bad behavior. It's not guilt-tripping. It's anxiety, real raw, and often overwhelming. For some dogs, being left alone doesn't just feel boring, it feels unsafe. Separation anxiety is far more common than most people realize, especially in rescue dogs or older pets who've experienced loss. Their crying isn't about being dramatic, it's panic. It's fear that you might never come back. Bella was one of those dogs. Every time her owner picked up keys even without leaving, she started trembling. The crying began before the door even opened. Over time, they realized it wasn't the absence that triggered her, it was the anticipation of it. According to canine behavior studies, dogs with separation-related issues often vocalize more intensely when exposed to pre-departure cues, shoes on keys, jingling, coat in hand. Their minds link those sounds to abandonment, and the reaction isn't just emotional, it's physiological. The solution isn't punishment. It's patience. It's desensitization. Helping your dog understand that departures aren't permanent, that goodbyes come with hellos, and that you always return. But here's the twist. Not all crying is rooted in sadness. Sometimes dogs cry when they're overwhelmed with joy. A sound you'd mistake for distress might actually be love spilling over. What does that look like? Let's find out. Reason 4. Emotional excitement. When joy comes out as tears. Imagine this. You walk through the front door after a long day. Before you can even take off your shoes, your dog rushes in, tail wagging wildly and crying. Not out of pain, not out of fear, but something else entirely. Joy. Yes, dogs cry when they're happy too. But unlike humans, they don't have words or laughter to express it. Instead, it comes out as whines, yelps, sometimes even little howls. And for some dogs, the joy of reunion is simply too much to hold in. There was a spaniel named Rocky who did this every single time his grandfather came home from dialysis. It didn't matter how many times it happened, Rocky would sprint to the door cry circle and press his head against his grandpa's legs. The tears weren't sadness, they were connection. Research shows that dogs experience emotional contagion. They can feel our presence, our return, our energy. And for highly bonded dogs, especially those raised closely with one person, the separation, even for a few hours, feels monumental. So the return, it's an emotional release. But while it's beautiful, constant overexcitement can also be stressful for a dog. Their nervous system spikes, their breathing quickens. Long-term, this kind of overstimulation can lead to fatigue or even anxiety. That's why helping them transition into calm is an act of love. Practice short departures. Keep reunions quiet. Let the energy settle before you pet or praise. But what happens when excitement isn't the cause? What if your dog cries at night, in the dark, with no one around? Sometimes the reason lies in age, not emotion. Let me show you why. Reason 5. Cognitive decline. When the world becomes confusing. It's late. The house is quiet. And from the hallway you hear it, your senior dog crying softly in the dark. There's food in the bowl. No pain you can see. No thunder outside. But they're restless pacing or staring at a corner like they've forgotten why they're there. This is what cognitive decline can look like in dogs. And for many older pets, crying isn't just about the present, it's about confusion, about memory slipping, about the familiar becoming strange. Daisy, a 14-year-old beagle, used to sleep soundly every night. But one winter, she began waking at 2 a.m., standing at the garage door, crying. It wasn't until her vet suggested canine cognitive dysfunction that things started making sense. She wasn't asking to go out. She thought that door led to her bed. Studies have shown that over 60% of dogs over age 11 show at least one sign of cognitive decline. Things like reversed sleep cycles, disorientation, or sudden vocalizations. To them, day and night blur. Spaces become puzzles. And sometimes crying is the only way they know to ask for help. But there is hope. Keeping routines consistent, using nightlights in dark areas, and creating safe, quiet corners can reduce confusion. Some supplements and medications under veterinary guidance can even help slow the decline. Still, there's one type of crying that doesn't come from their needs, their body, or even their age. It comes from you. Because sometimes, your dog cries not because they're hurting, but because you are. And that changes everything. Reason 6. Emotional contagion. When your feelings become theirs. There are moments when your dog cries, but it's not about them. It's about you. You're upset. Maybe you're crying. Maybe you're just quiet. But your energy has shifted. And suddenly your dog starts whining, pacing, or softly howling beside you. Not because they're in pain. Not because they need something, but because they feel you. This phenomenon is called emotional contagion. And yes, it's real. In a 2014 study, researchers found that dogs were more likely to approach a crying human than one who was humming or talking. They're not just noticing sadness, they're absorbing it. Leo was one of those dogs. His owner suffered from anxiety attacks. And what struck her most wasn't just how Leo stayed by her side, but how he would cry before the attacks peaked, as if he could sense the wave coming before she could. It wasn't training. It was connection. For dogs deeply bonded to their humans, emotions aren't separate. They're shared. Your stress becomes their alert. Your heartbreak becomes their concern. And that whine, that's empathy, turned into sound. But here's the part many people miss. When your dog mirrors your pain, it can wear on them. Over time, they become more anxious, more reactive, more fragile emotionally. That's why taking care of your own calmness is also a way of taking care of them. Now, we've seen the 6 most common reasons why dogs cry. But what do you do with all this? How do you turn that knowledge into action, into daily tools that help your dog feel safe, heard, and understood? That's exactly what we're going to cover next. Keep watching. Now that you know why your dog cries, here's the real question: what can you do about it? Because knowing the reasons is just the beginning. What truly matters is how you respond. The difference between frustration and connection comes down to having a plan. Let's start simple. Next time your dog cries, don't react with stress, respond with curiosity. Ask yourself, is this a basic need? Have they eaten, drank, been outside? If that's all covered, gently check their body. Touch around the hips, belly, shoulders. Look for stiffness or flinching. Still nothing. Then think emotionally. Have they been left alone longer than usual? Has your own mood changed lately? These aren't just theories. They're part of the emotional web your dog lives in every day. One of the best things you can do is create what we call a cry checklist, a mental flow chart you run every time they vocalize. It turns chaos into calm, panic into patterns. And remember, Daisy, the beagle who cried at night. Once her owner added nightlights in the hallway and moved her bed closer to their room, the crying stopped. It wasn't medicine, it was understanding. But here's something even more powerful. There's a way to detect hidden pain in your dog at home tonight in under 60 seconds. It's simple, it's safe, and it might just reveal something your dog's been trying to tell you for weeks. Want to know how? Let's go there together. The 60-second pain check. What your dog won't say out loud. Sometimes the signs are invisible. No limping, no yelping. Just that cry. That tiny sound in the hallway on the stairs or when no one's looking. And yet, something feels off. This is where the 60-second pain check comes in. It's not a replacement for a vet. But it is a powerful way to spot red flags early right at home with your own hands. Start by calling your dog over calmly. No treats, no distractions. Just you and them. Begin at the head and run your hands slowly down the spine. Stop every few inches and gently apply a bit of pressure with your fingertips, never poking, just steady contact. Watch their face. Do they flinch? Pull away. Turn suddenly to look at the spot. Those are signs, not always pain, but discomfort. Something worth noting. Move to the shoulders, then the hips, then the belly, especially if they've been crying after eating or stretching. A subtle twitch, a sudden breath, even a glance, they all mean something. This quick scan saved Milo the mixed breed with hidden hip pain. His owner noticed nothing during walks, but one evening during a quiet check, he winced when touched near the lower back. That small moment led to an early diagnosis, and months of pain avoided. Pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. And this test, it's how you learn to hear it. Now that you've seen the reasons and what to do about them, let's bring it all together. One final moment to make sure you never hear your dog cry and feel helpless again. Now you know your dog's cry is never random. It's a message, a need. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes emotional. Sometimes it's quiet pain or overwhelming joy. But behind every sound is one simple truth: they're trying to talk to you. And now you know how to listen. If this video helped you see your dog in a new light, consider subscribing. Because there's so much more to uncover about behavior love and the silent language our dogs use every day. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment about your experience, and share this with someone who needs to understand their dog just a little better. Your dog has always been speaking. Today, you answered. Let's keep learning together.